order the Groveland Township regular board meeting for July the 8th, 2024. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. So we have this here for them.
I don't know why it's
How it got here?
It got here when we did that tax video meeting.
Oh,
It's
I
been
care
here
if we
ever
move it
since.
back?
No, we can move it back.
Let's just move it back.
Don't hit the ceiling. Or the light.
Yeah, they are a little bit
This
distracted.
turned out to be a much bigger job.
I bet you look behind you and you think there's a person back there.
Yeah, just a little, that's all. Better than zero.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And would you take the roll call, please?
Robert Palma,
I'm here.
Janelle Keller. Present. Teresa Bills.
Here.
Jim Christopher.
Here.
Candace Riley is absent.
Excused. Yep. Okay. Has everybody received a copy of the minutes from the from the June 10th meeting for both the township and the fire board? And if so, are there any questions or comments on them? If not, a motion would be, I'm sorry.
Just the wording on the zoning board of appeals, instead of gave a grant last month for a variance, I think it just sounds better to say granted a variance last
okay.
month. Just, I don't know, I think gave a grant, I start thinking about money, so,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
it's just a wording thing.
Any others?
Nope, otherwise it looks great.
Okay, if not, motion in order to make, it would be in order to approve it, subject to those corrections.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the regular June 10th board meeting with the one correction as noted.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, they're approved. And you should have a copy of the fire board minutes for June 10th as well. Anybody want to have any comments on those?
Okay.
Good to me. Somebody want to make a motion to approve as submitted?
I'll make a motion that we approve the Groveland Township Fire Board regular meeting minutes of June 10th, 2024. Support?
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? They're approved. Okay, well, we're rocking and rolling here. I'm sorry, what? Oh, we rolled the agenda, missed it, but. Everybody should have a copy, I apologize, I skipped number 4, approval of the agenda for tonight. I didn't have any changes I wanted to make at this time, I'll talk about one when we get to it really, but the agenda looks okay to me. Does anybody want to make any amendments or changes to it? Okay, if not, somebody needs to make a motion to approve them as submitted.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as submitted.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
By Jim, okay, any other questions or comments from the board? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, okay, sorry. Next is the financials. This one's yours.
It sure is. So the first 3 pages that you're gonna see in there are actually a duplicate. They're within the next set of 15, so I'm just gonna pass over those 3, and move along to that revenue expense report that has the 15 pages. You're gonna see at the bottom of page 2, we paid out equalization, $43,226.53. So we were over by about $226 from what we anticipated this year. Page 3, just major payments this month. We had the $3,300 go out for scanning images so that they're digital. We had the $5,500 that we approved last month for the MTA fees, and then there's that $18,000 for insurance. Just wanted to draw your attention there to that miscellaneous line that's just a couple down. So this is also on page 3. You'll see on the right side is 133.73% of the budget. That's because we did that contribution to the fireworks, so that came out of miscellaneous. So just in case you're wondering what that was for. Nothing else out of the ordinary on those or the following few pages.
Did you want to move any money for that slight overage on the
Yeah,
equalization?
we have a couple of them there.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
And we can certainly do that right now if you like. Where were we? So truthfully, if you want to know the truth, I was gonna start doing them every few months and see if anybody noticed. It just, sometimes it's easier, cause I noticed that at the end of the fiscal year, we made
Yeah,
a
that's just housekeeping.
movement, and then the next one, it was like, well, now I've gotta do that amendment again. I didn't say this, did I say March Board of Review? There is 110% budget on page 2, and that's because the salary for Board of Review, it occurred in March, which was our last fiscal year, but it got paid out April 2nd, so it's showing in this fiscal year. So it's showing 110%, but that should be fixed
Yeah,
when they do the.
Ken will fix it
yeah,
at the
the
end of the
audit.
year, where it actually
So,
goes.
just so you know what's happening there. Those bottom numbers are still okay on the 101 expenditures, we're still only at 33%, so I think for now, we'll just leave that bottom. So final numbers for 101 for the general account. Nope, sorry, I'm not there yet. We're still in revenue and expense. Nothing really out of fire that was any different, so, for total, hold on, moving on to that next set of docs. Fire comes first. It was $45,576. The major fee there, of course, was that decoration fee, was the insurance, that was $34,000. But that covers us for the year, so that's $206. And then the township, at the very bottom of page 2 out of 3. So this is, if you look at the invoice distribution report for general, you're gonna see at the very bottom, there's a 206 fee that fell into 101. It was for the Verizon Wireless for 5117. So just so you know, that'll have to be corrected. So,
Or not.
okay, we don't. So for us, it will be a total of, we have listed this $94,518.28. And then, of course, right now, that's also adding in the 5117, that just needs to be a journal correction, it looks like. So, unless you have any questions for me, I would move that we accept the accounts payable as submitted.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Any questions or comments from the board? If not, a motion would be in order to approve as submitted? Oh, you did that, I'm sorry, Jim seconded it, I apologize. Jesus, I'm right. Would you take a roll call vote, please?
Yep, Teresa Bills,
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Robert DePalma,
Yes.
Janelle Keller.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, accounts payable, reports for general fire. Next is investment reports, Teresa.
So the investments, as you can see, it does not include Oakland County LGIP because they didn't send their reports to me yet, or as of the time that this was printed. So it looks like we are, $100,000 more than last time, but that's because if you, in the 701, it's $100,000 higher because the revenue sharing came in, and that came in on the last day of the month, and then that of course is gonna get moved over to township, or already did, so it's moved for next month. But,
Yeah, this should be reflected.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it will, it's all reflected in the same total, it's just that it came in on the last day of the month in the 701, so that's why there's $100,000 more in the 701, it's not like we just brought in some escrow of $100,000. Okay, so, other than that, it's really not,
Okay,
not a whole
well,
lot to
this is
say.
just a FYI, so we don't have to approve anything, it's not a
No.
payment. Very good.
Yep.
And the numbers always look good, that's a support. We have nothing on the agenda for our presentations tonight. We have nothing on the agenda for public hearing tonight. We have nothing on the agenda for number 9, unfinished business, so we're gonna move to new business. The first one is discuss the fiscal year MCCC contract. And Janelle?
Sure. So this is for the smart credits. If you recall, last year so in the past, we used to try to split them between Brandon and Holly. Last year, we allocated them to Brandon because we had a couple of people who still wanted to go kind of to the east side, on that east side of M15 there and over into, I think, maybe over to, Lake Orion. So,
Plus they wanted to use the senior bus.
okay, So I talked to Kim, who is in charge over there at WODA. So WODA, for anybody who's not familiar, is who we now have for our transportation. And she said that now they are actually partnering up with NOTA buses. So the smart credits can be allocated to WODA because now they are making the connection between the two. Their programming, their computer programming is not in line yet. However, they are making those connections between the two, between WODA and NOTA. She did give me some information. I've asked for a little bit more specifics if she had it, but I thought you guys would be interested to hear this because this is that transit millage that all of us kind of we all received last year.
It's a nice way to put it.
But,
Transit gift is the way we
yes,
want
that we have gifted, so lovely. But she was very aware of, how some of the communities felt, as her words, donor communities. But she did want to let us know that last year, about 52% of that millage did go to WODA for the communities that they're serving. And then 88% of the millage from those communities is going to WODA this year. So they're working toward, providing more services up in this area. And they did go, last year they were at 8,900 people for the first quarter, and they have doubled that for the first quarter this year with 17,000, so they're hoping to get about 80,000 people served. So they are growing.
At least we're getting something for the money.
Yes, that's kind of where I was going with all that. So, I am not as familiar with the smart credits in the past, so I don't know if the board feels really uncomfortable with these smart credits not going to Brandon anymore. I did try to contact the senior center today just to see if we still had a number of people, but unfortunately I wasn't able to connect with anybody who had that information. So I'm not sure if you have any strong feelings on it, or if you want to just go ahead and.
When do you have to issue the smart credits by?
I think last year this didn't come to the board till August, so I'm sure that we'd be fine. We actually didn't even join with WODA until I think August last year. And then smart credits were allocated, and I'm pretty sure even into the early months of this year, they were still asking me for paperwork.
So,
I guess the question is, do we think they actually were using the money last year? Because statistically, we have a few more people on the Ortonville side of the township than we do.
well, that's my
Oh,
concern, is I don't know if we should just cut it off.
Well, it was a concern for me too, that's why I
Yeah.
called.
So maybe if we don't have to decide tonight, maybe we could try to get a hold of,
Just hope to get a call back
like, do
there.
you need to just call Faye over at Senior
That's
Center?
right, yeah, I tried to get hold of her.
Yeah, and so I know she doesn't work every single day, but, I would feel more confident making a vote on it one way or another if we got input from both
Yeah.
before we made that decision.
And I'm totally okay with still pulling out some more information and seeing what I can get from them.
As long as we have time.
Yeah, and I don't,
Certainly in August, by August meeting. we should
I
find out,
don't
right?
think that it would be a problem. I know that the, period is actually for July 1, it begins July 1. But we didn't even get this contract till like a week ago.
Okay,
So, I mean, they're well aware that these the communities have to approve it at their work meetings.
sure. Well, then, I would suggest we, do a little bit further of discussion with the Ortonville side before we
Sure.
allocate 100% of it to the Holly side.
I'm totally okay with that.
So you want to propose, make a
So
motion to table?
I would like to make a motion to table the discussion of fiscal year 25 MCCC contract.
Is there a second to that?
I'll support it.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's tabled till August. Next is the discussion for Wade Trim and Associates. Just to kind of bring everybody up to date on it. We have been with, the current planner that we have for many years. And Ben Tellerico was actually the consultant we had for most of those years and did a wonderful job for us, but unfortunately his cancer got the better of him and he ended up passing away. So since then, we had gone through a number of different people at our current provider in the feel free to jump in, Jim, but I think the planning commission's been pretty dissatisfied with it, and I know Danielle and I have equally been dissatisfied with it. The unfortunate thing is, the young lady that works for us right now, Liz, has actually been very nice, but when we had all these troubles and it wasn't getting fixed, we agreed that we were gonna send out an RFP for a planner. And the planning commission interviewed, I believe, a couple of them, and we had responses from, I think, 3 other firms. And at the last planning commission meeting, they were all very vocal about how much they liked the young lady from Wade Trim that had made the presentation to them, and both her style and her context of what she was actually doing for them. So they all agreed that they wanted to ask us to hire Wade Trim, and that's the contract, the agreement you have in front of you now. Which means if we approve this, we're at a point, once we've approved the new revisions to finally get the mess in the master plan fixed, that we can change agents now. So this is a request from the planning commission to pick Wade Trim. They were unanimous in it. Everybody that was at the meeting was unanimous in it. And I did this because I wanted them to have some buy-in to who we were using for planning. You know, and I kept on telling them, I can't change in the middle of fixing all the mistakes that were made by the previous personnel there with the county until we fix it. We've got that kind of fixed now, so I think this is a good time to change the Wade Trim, since that's who they like, and they've got to work with them a little more than us, and
Yeah.
Danielle does. She was also very pleased with her.
The young lady that's in the packet, what's her name? Caitlin.
Kate.
She actually presented to the PC and ZBA. A lot of the board members went to a training a couple months ago. Yeah, David, you were there. I thought she did a really nice job.
She's great.
Yeah, I thought she was great, so.
There was nothing but compliments at the planning commission for her, from everybody.
Both those people were
They both.
Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
very well spoken and really knew their stuff.
Yeah.
And you gotta have a good working relationship with them, or stuff gets messed up really bad, like it
Their
did.
office is in Flint.
Yeah.
That's gonna be serious.
Nice and close.
If you don't have a good working relationship with them, it's easy, like we saw in our last master plan after Ben passed away. With Ben, things worked great. Once he was gone, it was just a composite of one error after another. So I guess we need a motion, if the board agrees, to proceed with signing the contract to hire Wade Trim to replace our current planner. And we did ask him, by the way, do you want to submit a bid, because Liz, the gal that's doing it now, has stepped up quite nicely. And she said that the principal there said, no, we've had it for a lot of years, if they think we need to play, we don't want to do it. So, okay, sounds like a match made in heaven to me.
Yeah, it's an easy decision, I guess.
So they didn't even put in a quote,
Nope.
so we
And
can't stay.
we went back and told Liz, you know, we're a lot happier now that you've taken over. Don't you wanna put a proposal in? And she said, the principal of the company said
Right.
no.
Oh,
So,
well,
I think just,
kind of
like I
forces
said,
our hand, huh?
match made in heaven, right?
I suppose, yeah. Well, if the whole entire planning commission and BZA said that they are in support of Wade Trim, then I think, and they're comparable priced,
They're probably more, but I think all of them are more right now.
they're all
And,
going up.
Yeah, and then this one here, I mean, they talked to 3 or 4 of them. I don't remember, I think Danielle did a spread on the prices, I don't have it with me here, but every member, without exception, was happy with these people. They said that's who they wanted to work with, and I think that's the important thing. We don't wanna have, the same kind of mess we had. We wanna get back to the way it used to work with, frankly, when we had Ben here.
I did notice that this was also considered as-needed planning services, so. I don't
Because
know.
sometimes you ask for stuff, for example, they could
Yeah.
come back and say, because it's, you know, under the law, you're supposed to redo your master plan, I think it's every 7 years, or at least a moderate update to it. They could come in and say, well, the other one took so long, it's really probably time to take a look at it again. There would be
Yeah.
extra charges for doing a master plan, just like when we did it at, Camp Tamarac's facility there, you know, we had several meetings there to
Yeah.
get public input in it before we made the plan.
Bob, I'm a little brain dumb today. Is there a term listed on this? In other words, how long the contract runs? I
You know,
can't
apologize, I don't know,
Anybody
I
know?
think that it said something about it just if we decided to leave, or, you know, disassociate from them, I thought it was a 30-day notice. But I don't know that there was a minimum.
Well,
Look, you can't turn off the planning services on and off that easy anyways.
No, I'm
We've
just
seen
kinda
from what we
curious.
had with the current planner.
I simply couldn't
If
find.
they all like it, I think we need to give them, you know, you and the rest of the planning commission, the tools to do the
Yeah.
job the right way and deal with it.
As far as I'm concerned, my mates on the planning commission are unanimous. I know this company professionally, they're not the second team, so they'll get my blessing. I just simply couldn't find it in your proposal, that's all.
I know, we're all a little lost because Danielle isn't here today.
Well, if it'll help to move things along, I'll make the motion that we accept the agreement from Wade Trim to be our planner for the immediate future, I
Okay.
guess.
And, you know, you
I'll
support
still
it.
support it, even if
Any
I'm.
other questions or comments from the board? If not, Angela, could we have a roll call vote on it, cause it will be for me? Or, sorry.
Robert DiPalma,
Yes.
Chanel Keller,
Yes.
Teresa Bellis,
Yes.
Jim Christopher.
Yes.
This is what happens when you get 300 emails, 7 voice messages, and a couple other texts, all in the morning. Today's date will be, today's the 8th, right?
Yes.
Okay, can I leave that with you, Jim, because you keep the contracts, right? Okay, thank you. I'm sure Danielle will be happy when she gets back here on Thursday. Discuss the zoning ordinance and map available to review at the township office. I think everybody got a copy of the stuff. The planning commission was happy with the changes. Danielle is happy with the changes. We've really had to do most of the work on this. Again, I feel a bit of a loss because she's not here, but are there any questions on it?
None for me.
We just put it off to this month's meeting.
Danielle says it's good to go, she knows the most about it,
She's the one that's gotta do it, right?
right?
It looked like the letter that they sent had all of the concerns from Oakland County, and it looked like the planner Liz had gone back through and.
She did,
She
like I
noted
said,
where
she's done a
how
much better
they
job here at
fixed
the
it all.
end, it's just
Yep.
too bad it took so many months to get it to this.
Yeah,
Yep.
I didn't see any red flags.
Yeah, that's why I had you for several months, and then, you know, pulling up all the bills when you'd send them to me. Is this one we actually paid for, or are they
Yeah.
double billing us on this? That's not a good thing when you have to do that with one of your suppliers. Okay, so,
When we did look through, you know,
Yeah.
what was it, 197 pages?
Yeah.
if there's no discussion on it, then it's just, township approves the corrections to the master plan and zoning map.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Any other questions or comments from the board? This is a housekeeping issue. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Again, Daniel,
Oh,
will be very
you know
happy.
Just because I know Gina had looked at this, she did wanna make sure that we noted that the original plan, when it was changed last year, had a lot of zoning changes, and she just wanted to make sure that, it was clear that people's homes weren't being rezoned.
Yeah, that's what we want.
It
Oh.
sounds like she had maybe some conversations, she just wanted to make sure that people knew that.
I can ask her when she gets back, I guess, if there's still something to concern.
Yeah, cause there was some that went from REF to.
Yes, they had a whole bunch of them,
Yeah.
they changed wrong, and we said, I don't know, I was in on a couple of those calls with Danielle, I don't know how, I'm just being honest, I don't know how you could screw up the changes we were making
Yeah,
so
they are.
bad, when we were so explicit on it, and did it on so many calls, and then it'd still come back like, is the guy even listening? But all that stuff's been fixed. Okay, next item is discuss the exterior cleaning of the township building.
Do we vote, are we good on that, did we vote on that?
We got,
Approve.
you motioned and Christopher second.
I didn't know if we
Did you
actually.
all in favor?
All in favor of that, that's what I
Oh, I
wasn't
did,
sure.
didn't I?
No.
All, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we're good. Thank you. Next is exterior cleaning of the township building.
Okay, so in a couple weeks, we have, the mulch coming in, they're gonna come in, pull out all the weeds, get that mulch laid like we had planned a while back. We also had allocated funds this year for, exterior cleaning of the building and roof. Now, you have in front of you 3 bids, only 2 were in the packet, 1 came in this morning, or this afternoon. This third one, you'll see my little scribble at the top, it says plus $150 for rust removal. So that was not in his original, quote, but if we want the rust removal on the outside of the building, then it'll be an extra $150. So there are 3 here, all of them I asked for to include with and without the roof. This one is just an updated for Titan Wash without the roof, so that would bring it to $1,600. Titan
That's
Wash.
the second one in
And
here.
does that one include the rust roof?
This does include rust
So
removal.
everything but the roof?
Yes.
So instead of 2,100, they want 1,600 to not include the roof?
This is without the roof would be 1,600, but it does include the rust removal. So we've got 1,600 for Titan Wash, 1,250 from Curb Appeal. And then, what is that gonna be, $775 from Clarkston Exterior Cleaning.
That's a big difference in the price.
It really is, yes. Now, I
Yeah, it
can
is.
tell you, I do think that both of, I don't, Clarkston did not, I don't think he came out to actually look at the building. This was more of a, submit online, talk to him a few times. This is what he suspects. I think that both of these other 2 did come out.
And even between those 2, there's a pretty good difference.
There is.
And so, the first one, Gary Weatherby, he does a soft wash, Curb Appeal exterior house, he does a soft wash. The other one, Titan Wash, he does a power wash. I was reading, and there is a big difference.
The soft wash relies more on the chemicals.
Yeah, I think the power wash is not what I would want to do. I mean, I don't know who this company is, but power washing a building is harmful to a building. I don't think it's the right way to go. So if it were up to me, I would pick from these 2 soft washing jobs. But I don't know, neither one of them is talking about whether they're gonna take off the oxidation or not. And-
Yeah, this was, the Titan Wash was the only one that included anything about oxidation, but even in his recommendation, he did not recommend oxidation
Right.
removal. He did say there was some present. But even in his recommended bid, it was not included. So
So,
I don't know if that makes any difference to you.
Curb Appeal did suggest that we get some estimates on the condition of the shingles before we even send anybody out there to do anything.
Janelle and I went out and looked at it today, and actually you could see the roof ridge on that side of the roof. Looks like it's peeling off. And there's a section on the roof where I think we had it repaired last time, from Jason's people. The shingles are completely different colors, so something's happening up there. And a couple of spots are starting to lift, so I said, let's leave the roof off the cleaning for
Yeah.
now. And just have Jason give us an idea whether or not he thinks it's time to re-roof it, because we have in the past done the 2 galleries that come out here. Alpine did them when Pam was here, but I don't think we ever re-roofed the whole building. And I think Jason came out and fixed the last storm damage we had, but I have to admit, it looks like the backside of the roof is questionable.
Well, that's what Gary suggested, right? My understanding is he's like, you need to get your roof looked at before I go up there and clean it.
Yeah. If you don't, then.
He said he would go clean it. I mean, I met with him. He said he's happy to clean it. He did say we may wanna just have it checked out.
That's the south side, so it's.
Yeah, that side of the
That's the
building.
one where that storm blew all those shingles off that time. It just doesn't look right when you look at it, you can see something.
If you patch it, they're gonna be different.
Yeah, well, no, it actually looks like something happened to them. There's a whole black streak up at the top, and all the roof ridge on this side's peeled back like
Yeah, it's kind of.
like curled shingles would be, except on roof ridges, they're usually just a cap, right? So something doesn't look right up there, we need to have that checked and decide if we need to put the roof on it, because it's been quite a while.
Bob, do you know how long it's been since the roof was installed?
Actually, I don't think the entire roof has been replaced since the building was done.
Which was why.
I would say let's get close to
96,
replace the whole
and
thing.
so the last work we had done was when Pam was still here, and we had the two valleys done, because that's the reason we put the heaters
Yeah.
on both ends of the building. It used to ice dam and then backflow up the shingles, and started leaking inside on the drywall, and I think the skylights were leaking at that time too. I think Jason
Skylights
fixed
were
those
leaking.
for us, yeah. It probably needs a roof, and we need to
Yeah,
get a quote.
I would say, since we seem to be making money on interest and not spending the money, I would say let's get some prices and replace the roof.
My point was, after Janelle and I looked at it, I said, let's not even clean the roof.
Yeah.
It's probably
Yeah,
gonna just be
I think
replaced.
that's wise. So in terms of the exterior of the building, one, I agree with Teresa on the soft, cleaning is better. And, I don't know any of these companies,
I do not either.
so I would suspect going with low bid might be the way to go. Teresa, I know Scott used to do this, what do you think?
Well, I did ask Scott, and he said, you know, that the only thing we should maybe mention is about the oxidation, and if oxidation is not an issue, that you just can't get rid of it, and so you don't want it to like partially come off and not come off on other parts, it's just not gonna look the right way, you know? So, I think if either of these people are using the soft wash method, and, you know, I'm reading all this, and they're gonna use their proprietary blend of water, detergents, cleaning solution, and surfactants, that's exactly what Scott used to use, right? So I know
Good
how they do
standard
it.
stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's, both of these guys would probably do a really good job, so if it were, you know, if we're just looking to go with the least expensive bid, it makes me a little nervous that this guy didn't come out and actually look, but he gave a price, right? And the sidewalk, I mean, yeah, the sidewalk doesn't need to be 4 different shades of, you know, anywhere from white to black. So that'll be nice to get that all taken care of, right? So,
I have never bought this in my entire construction career. I'm trying to equate $150 an hour, the equipment, so your point actually is well taken. If this low bid is at $624, if that indeed is the low bid for
Plus
this.
your 150.
Okay, well, that makes me feel more comfortable. That's approaching $775 now. It's $500 less, I believe, than the other one. I'd say 750. I would say it's probably doable. So,
I would've thought it would've come in more than that, to be honest, but, you know, I didn't bid the jobs, Scott did. So, and he doesn't do this anymore, so I don't know either of these companies really. I mean, I definitely don't know the one, and the other one, I know, Scott refers some of his clients to that call him back, but we've never had him do anything for us. I don't have any, you know, concerns one way or another. So if you want to just go with the least expensive bid, I mean, the guy gave us his quote, so,
I have a suggestion. I'll leave it up to whoever in the office is the decision maker to choose. I don't care after checking out all the references. Is that a way to handle this?
Well, I mean, I don't know, we got a bid, let's just,
Fine?
Yeah.
Do
there you
it.
go. If something comes up and he comes out and changes his tune, well, then we'll bring it back to the board, but assuming he honors his quote,
Okay.
I think we're good to go.
I'm happy to make a motion to go with Clarkson Cleaning.
Okay.
Exterior cleaning,
Is
excuse
there
me.
a second?
Support.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Okay, Laura, could you take a roll call?
Janelle Keller,
Yes?
Teresa Bells,
yes, but you know what, I'm sorry, one other question. We're gonna table the whole roof thing, right? We're just.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
no,
this
no,
is
yeah,
without
not
the
doing the
roof.
road.
Just
No,
gonna do
his
the
roof-
sidewalk.
His
Well,
roof
Jason
estimate
gets
was
back
the
on
next
that.
page.
Okay, I just,
Give us a
yeah,
ballpark.
for some reason I was thinking, oh, I gotta make sure, okay. So, yes, I'll vote yes.
okay, Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Robert DePalma.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Next item, discuss Guardian Alarm. We have a letter here from Guardian dated June 13th. I'm not sure who secured this.
This one's from me.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So this is the, with the new ballot boxes, so in, what year was that, 2022? New laws were passed with election laws. One of them is that we have to have these ballot boxes displayed. We still use the one in the wall, however, as you drive out today, you're gonna see a really nice, pretty one out on the other side of the building. So, we are going to install, we need to, requirement by law is that they have to be video monitored with a 30-day retention. Well, our current plan right now, is only 7 days, so somehow we will need to extend that to the 30 days for recording purposes. The ballot box is installed. I received a quote here, so you're gonna see kind of two things going on here. The bottom section of that is the additional camera. So that's about $575. It is a $5 monthly maintenance fee. The $575 is reimbursed by the state for new camera and installation of those boxes, so that would be reimbursed. The other thing that you'll see up top here was the recommendation to upgrade the system. So right now we have a 9-camera model for security cameras. Again, that's only a 7-day retention period. This would upgrade them to potentially handle 32 cameras. I don't know that we'd ever need 32 cameras, but it upgrades it to that status. And then this other camera, right now we have, if you've ever come in, you've seen the 9-camera screens up on our television monitor. This 9th camera would be that one below, would fill into that 9th position. And then this also would provide for remote viewing. So if anyone if we knew there was an issue, for example, the security alarm, actually Jim, you had even asked about that, I think in the past, it allows for remote monitoring of the camera. So if somebody wanted to pull it up, whoever that may be, on their phone, said, oh yeah, this is what's going on in those cameras. So that's what you're seeing here are the two different things. Now, I think that would be really nice to have and have it all looped into our security system. Could we get away with something else? I could maybe try to be real creative, but we do have to have the recording camera and 30-day retention in some way.
We need to get it in for the election.
And I would love to do it sooner rather than later.
Yes.
We will not be able to use that ballot box until this, whatever recording we have is in place.
Okay, so do you want these as two separate motions, one to approve the camera on the box and another one to approve the upgrade, or do you want them done together?
Separate?
Yeah, let's do them separate.
Okay.
Thanks, sorry.
All right.
So I would motion that we, we'll go with the camera first, approve the installation of the additional camera on the back side of the building where we currently have no camera at all.
Is there a second? to
There is a
that?
picture there too, if you want to see
And
that.
Jim, that's the $575 obligation plus a $5 monthly.
Correct.
Okay,
Does not give us the 30-day retention, that's just the camera.
okay.
Also, just so you know why we picked that location, I know we're in the middle of a motion here, more information for
That's
you.
okay.
But, again, that's where all of our early voting people come in and out, and we felt like with zero security right now, with no cameras back there, a
Good
camera
point.
back on the back really
Good
would be
point.
really
Good point.
important. Just-
And it separates the absentee ballot drop-off point
Yes,
from the regular mailbox.
from the regular mailbox,
and
because we wanted to keep those
Dropbox.
separate, yes. Sorry, now I'll let you continue with your questions.
So we have to have a camera, cause we have to, I mean,
And we have to get the 30 days too.
Yes, correct, so, okay, I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay,
No.
Laura, would you take a roll call vote on that for the camera?
Teresa Bells,
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Robert DePalma.
Yes.
Janelle Keller.
Yes.
Thank you. The next one is for your 30-day monitoring upgrade, right?
Yes.
Can I go?
Yeah.
I have a comment. So, everybody, you gotta trust me on something. This is the worst company among the worst companies I've ever professionally dealt with. I have found their service abysmal, I've been lied to. Most of my clients are switching. So if we have time, I personally am fond of a great relationship with Sonatrol, but I would welcome the Antichrist over this company. poorly, I think.
Jim, don't hold back.
Don't hold back.
Here.
I'm telling you guys, this company's piss poor.
You know, I'll say this though, in fairness, from my perspective, because I'm the guy that gets most of the calls in the middle of the night.
Second person.
No, you are. When they try me first. I got them up at the cottage. I would say I felt that way about Guardian for a long time because we used to get a huge number of false reports and they could never find out what it was until we upgraded the system then. And they found out they had a wire inside the door casing of the main entrance that had a fray in it, and so when the wind would shake that door a little bit, because there's a little play in them, it kept on triggering the alarm. And I must have had 1,000 phone calls like that, and I used to come in the middle of the night, come check in. I've never had anybody break into the township office. After a while, I just said, yeah, go ahead, call the state police, let them know if something happens, right? So, once they fixed that, it was better, and Patty, I think, had told them before you got here, Janelle, that, you know, we needed to look at some other stuff, and I was under the impression that she said they had, for lack of a better phrase, stepped up quite a bit. So I don't know if your experience has been good or bad with it, but I do get calls now, frankly, from both. I get a call, for example, when a mouse happens to get in the basement. That was the last several calls I got. They don't decide to run around until about 2 in the morning. That's when I get the call. Okay, and it's just a damn mouse, so we put some traps out, turn the alarm off for 3 or 4 days, get the mice, and turn it back on. And I've had calls from Sonatrol when they notice that the internet is down. They tell me the monitoring cameras that they use for, you know, panic buttons and stuff are out. So in all honesty, both of them have been calling them pretty good, I'd say, in the last year or so. And I get, I or you, if I don't answer, I guess, get most of them. So,
I complain, I'm like 5th or 6th on the list, why you? No one else answered.
There's another component.
well, I'm pretty sure when they call me up north at the lake, I ain't coming down to check.
There's another component that is beyond my area of expertise, and that is, at some point in time, I hope we will invest in card reader locks. And I don't know how the two systems talk to each other, and then if we execute this upgrade, will we be obliged to use proprietary equipment? So, these are just things I want to
They're good
throw.
points, Jim, and I don't know, I'm just thinking if we do the upgrade for the locks, we probably ought to wait until the new building, which, by the way, if you haven't gone by, the entire frame is up, and they're siding the building and roofing it right now, so actually looking like something now. You can see it moving pretty good. But I think when we do the door
That's what we
system for
talked
them,
about last time.
we should take a look and see if there's some advantage to being able to do them and us at the same time.
Well, I think so. I have a little bit of self-professed plan of urgency just to get the door locks in sooner rather than later, rather than waiting till the fire station's done. I leave it up to the board. It's not a necessity.
Yeah.
I have disdain for this company professionally. If the board votes, hey, we're gonna go with it, no hard feelings. I'm just letting you know how I feel on it.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we're right now at the point where we have to get the monitoring in
It
there.
would
We
be
can't wait till the new building's done.
ideal
Right?
to have it done for this year for 2 elections.
Maybe.
What's your alternative, a trail cam in the woods?
That's what I mean, like I could like get a little wise cam from Amazon or something.
I'm gonna put Vinny out in the woods,
Yeah.
take pictures all day.
Yeah, that'll fly. There you go. We'll set him up a little tent for recorder. I mean, it would be ideal to have them up since we have 2 very big elections, still this year, and we won't have another election for a couple of years.
What is the contract obligation on the improved monitoring system?
I mean, I think this is, it's just that initial investment and then the monthly maintenance
There's
for.
no actual contract on it then, right?
It's just upgrading what we currently have.
I understand your concern and I see it, but I'm inclined to think
Let's do what
we
we
need to
gotta
get
do.
it done to get it in for the elections. And if
I
we need to
agree.
change it, I don't think it's gonna be a big issue one way or the other.
Just out of curiosity, what has
lies about when they're gonna show up, competency of the technicians, inability to correct things on time. For me, those are huge deal killers.
Yeah.
They're very similar to my clients. Can't get people out on a timely basis, false alarms.
What's your experience been with them, Janelle?
Actually, this, gentleman, Bill, he's been out a couple times, he was out when Patty was still here, and, I mean, he's on top of it. Every time I've ever asked him a question, it's immediate response, and then even follow-up, hey, just checking in. Now, this isn't somebody who's coming out and servicing the equipment either, so I don't know if, you know, there's a difference in that. But I've had nothing but positive experiences with them.
Well, as I recall from, like, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but we did have some quotes from Sonatrol, like, when we looked at it
Yeah.
a year or so ago, and, they were more pricey than this, so, and that's to be expected, it was a whole new system. This is just an upgrade to our existing, and so I know 3,305 seems like a lot, but at the moment, I think it's probably a reasonable price compared to what it would cost for the whole new system, and the fact that we have to have something immediately, and this is the simplest, most cost-effective at the moment
Yeah, I get it.
solution
I'm
for,
fine, I'll support it, I
dilemma.
will, I just wanted to say my piece.
Yeah, and-
Thank you, they were good points.
yeah,
So then do we wanna have a motion to, we did the camera already.
yes, we did.
We need a motion then to
All right.
approve the upgrade of the system.
Do you wanna do that, Janelle, or you want me to?
I can,
Yeah, you go first.
I would motion that we approve the, proposed initial investment of 3,305 with the additional monthly maintenance as provided in the packet
Is there a
with
second?
Guardian Alarm.
I'm sorry, is there a second to that?
I will second that.
Any questions or comments from the board? Laura, would you take a roll call?
Jim Christopher,
Yes,
Robert DePalma,
Yes.
Janelle Keller,
Yes.
Teresa Bellis.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I guess this other item, we actually kind of talked about the security for the hardware for the doors and staff, or is that the one we actually used to recruit?
No, this is all Jim's.
Okay, well, I'm trying to find out on the main agenda, are we actually on F?
We're on F now. We're on F, yep.
Okay, okay. Jim, did you wanna?
yeah, I just want us to revisit and whatever that means internally. I think strongly we should have smart hardware on the township office doors. Meaning the exterior doors, if there's any particular function that we feel also is important. I just would like that extra level. We've never had an issue.
No, but you know, I think you bring up a good point, and I hadn't thought about this before. From time to time, I also get calls from people that are coming in here, and somebody forgot to tell me they were using the building or whatever. It would eliminate that because the authorization cards would tell you who ended up opening it and who set it in, and that would be beneficial. That's how you fix it so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah,
So I think those are good points, I
In
agree.
addition, it allows us from afar to let contractors in, or someone who, if we have janitorial, I should know, but I don't know if we have a janitorial person that comes in.
Yeah, we do.
But there's a lot of advantages to having a system that records who comes in concert with who's really in here, because I could come in and bring in my dog from, you know, if that was foreboding or something like that. So I think it's kind of important that we have that. I mean, I joke all the time with everybody, I think it'd be great to get into the 90s and have this.
I think it's some valid points, I guess I think we get that, like you said, when we look at what we do for the fire department, I would agree.
Yeah, well, listen, I even extended, I don't know Kevin Stacy's operation down there, but I even think for all our municipal buildings, it would be a wise upgrade. I can't parrot costs, I haven't looked at that proposal in a year. I just wanna make the recommendation that I think it's a really valid point, and would like to go forward with it, even if that means taking bids again. And you know how I'll vote for Guardian.
Okay, fair enough.
Hey,
fair
listen,
enough.
I have a good track record with Sonatrol. If there's another company that's got stellar reviews, I don't care who it is. That's all, that's what that point was on my email.
Chief?
Probably put in for the par grant for that.
Yeah, I think so.
That was what, $5,000?
Up to 5 grand,
Yeah,
yes.
that, I'm guessing the one you're gonna need, cause you gotta split the building into two, probably be at least that much.
Well, I'm assuming we're
That's
gonna
the
do all
max
three
that we have.
buildings at the same time.
Yeah, but I'm saying the apartment.
But if you wanted to do
yours.
one here first, see if the system works fine, and then we can implement it in the other ones. As long as we decided that that company, obviously we want all three buildings in the same program, I would assume.
Yep, you're correct.
Are you thinking external doors? Is that?
I would think external doors, if any of the three of you have a function in addition to that, that that you feel that your door lock's not good enough.
Well,
But
and I can see that the clerk and the treasurer might want your doors, that's why you have keys for them. I have a key for mine, but I never even lock my door, cause there's nothing in it that's top secret, you know what I mean? It's all general information, so I don't even lock my office generally, but,
Would that be needed for voting, card control for voting?
and they do it for this office here for the voting stuff too, they use that conference room. back there.
My vision, everyone, would be, say the alarm comes to you, and the ability to look on a camera to see if someone's moving around in here is
Mhm.
huge. That way you can just say, okay, don't respond to it, if somebody forgot to do something, I can see who they are.
Janice's dog.
Yeah, so, again, I think it's important, and how I'm looking forward to some dialogue and how to move forward with it or not at all.
You know, there is a way on those, security cameras we have to get into it, but I'll be honest, it's been so long, I can't remember how I did it, it's an app on my phone somewhere.
Yeah.
Cause for a while, when we're still getting the bogus calls, I used to use it to look at, I have Patty's in there, she's doing something.
Through Guardian or through the Sun as well?
Through Guardian.
Through Guardian,
I used to be able to
well
look
then
at it.
we should go figure that out.
Yeah. But you know, I have no passwords.
Well.
If I don't use it every day, it's very
Right.
easy to forget it.
Right.
Okay, well then, we just kinda agree we're gonna look at this as we get closer to what the building's gonna do, cause we're gonna be pretty close to, I think, starting to look at that stuff. The building's going up pretty fast now. Once they get it shelled in, it's all inside.
Well, now's a good point for them to come look at the building, and then, you know, look at that building, Station 2 and this building.
Let me ask you, do you wanna contact them and have them look at the two fire buildings first? So you get a comfort level with what you think you need, and if there's some feature you think you need, then we can bring it back to us, and we can just wrap, our needs, I think, are gonna be easier than yours. So
Ours
we
are
got a couple of
simple.
inside ones we need.
Ours are simple, it's the state police that's gonna be.
Yeah.
So I guess we could,
And, the one gal up there.
they came and looked already, and we talked about it.
Yeah, I know, but it's, everything in Lansing is like Cape of the Winds. It's like DEQ, the MPSC, all of them. You can talk to 4 different people in the same division and get 4 different answers. And, none of them seem to actually talk to the other ones, so. In the past, we used Dawn, and I'm not sure Dawn's still a contact up there for those last set of engineering changes we got. And tomorrow I have a call with Tony Summer, and I'll be able to tell you better if that's who we need to talk to.
I'll give my son a trial contact too, assume you,
Okay.
I'll email it to you tomorrow, maybe tonight, depends how much horsepower I have.
Okay, you also had an item, Jim, you wanted to talk about, G, to discuss facility repair renewal on small capital
Well,
projects.
the one before that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I use like everybody, I carry 2 phones around to begin with. But I've gotten a number of phone calls from community members that I have no relationship with, asking me about the election or asking me about other things related to the township. And they've all been fine.
They've all been what?
Fine.
Oh,
Okay, they seem to be normal humans that have no craziness to them or pathology. But the but part is, it may not be needed now, but there's a part of me that says, you know what, it would be kinda nice for all of us to have township phones. I'm just saying, for dialogue. Am I nuts? I'm generally not paranoid, but
I would suggest, only because Gina's not here, that I think the whole board should be here when we talk about that.
that's fine.
And I can tell you on mine, my business cards have had every phone number I have. If you can't get me on the numbers on my business card, I'm either in the middle of the lake or I died. Okay.
Alright, well then maybe it's a moot
You
point.
know, and I haven't had many calls, I've only had one that I thought was an unreasonable person that, I think this is about 4 or 5 years ago, I was up north and somebody called the home, some lady, and she said, well, he's not here, he's on vacation today, and she said, well, what do you mean he's on vacation today?
Well, yeah, maybe it's-
Other than that, I've never had unreasonable call from anybody at home in 28 years.
Well, then, I'm being paranoid, so I'm not gonna worry about it. And then the last point is I had my question answered a few weeks ago about how we handle repair and renewal, so that,
Yeah, we usually do them at the budget session.
yeah, I
and
mean, we
stuff.
did, so it's all good.
Okay.
Just a quick piece of information on the phones, I will tell you that, and I'm not necessarily advocating for them, but I will tell you at many of the clerks conferences that I've been to, they really, really encourage people to have a separate business phone than
Yeah,
personal.
well, I do. I mean, you already see me, I carry 2 phones.
Yeah, yeah.
So if somebody said, you look like a drug dealer.
Just for, like, if there are any legal issues, then your phone is confiscated, and if you're using your personal
Yeah.
phone at all for any business, then your personal phone's gone. So just point of information, that's all.
I'd be interested to hear, like, from other municipalities, because I don't call anybody business related on my cell phone. I get voicemails here at the office, and, I return them during regular business hours. But I'm just the treasurer, right? I mean, what do they want from me? Nothing, you know, outside of office hours. I don't know that it's as important for me as it might be for the supervisor, who seems to be on everybody's beck and call 24/7.
Well, I'm the one when the police have a question, did you
Yeah.
call me at home? That kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
exactly. There's more of a need for, you know, supervisor, which is why we do provide a phone for Bob, you know. But as far as for me, I understand the whole liability thing, and if something goes
Yeah.
wrong, you know, that's why I don't do township business on my personal cell phone.
The reason it comes in handy is for me is because when I do finally take a day or a week off, the state police and us still have that cell phone
Yeah.
over here, so they'll call me even up at the lake. But that's okay, that's not that,
Right.
it's not a problem. Okay, can we table that for the next agenda when we have
Why
a
not?
report here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, miscellaneous reports, Holly Area Youth Assistance.
Okay. Let's see, their car shows have started up for the summer, Wednesdays, 5 to 8. They have a health and enrollment fair and Bronco boot camp, on August 3rd.
You're talking about the car show in downtown Holly, right?
Yeah. August 3rd is the boot camp at Holly High School from 8 to 11 a.m. and then the enrollment fair is from 11 to 1:30. They have a new member, which I believe that we discussed at the last meeting. They have a Euchre fundraiser coming up and a Goodwill Roundup coming up, but unfortunately, because I don't have the minutes from the last meeting, I don't know exactly when they've set those dates. So, yeah, I don't have specifics on when those will be taking place. Their next meeting is July 15th, so that is specifically Haya. And then just a little addition in there, they do have a Veterans Resource Fair coming up, on July 13th, so was that this Friday? Saturday? At the Holly Area
Saturday.
Veterans, Saturday, from 9 to
No, it's
noon. Friday?
Oh, I'm sorry, 13?
13th.
Saturday.
It's Saturday.
Where they'll have free food boxes. They also have the Oakland County Housing and Neighborhood Development that will be present there to help them. And just so that all the residents do know, that's something that, people who are struggling with housing, needs, even something that needs to be fixed, you can actually apply for that. So that's the Oakland County Housing and Neighborhood Development. They have a number of other resources that they will have there. So again, that is on Saturday from 9 to noon. I don't really have anything else. A lot of the rest of it was all old news.
Thank you. BGYA?
Well, I was not able to attend the meeting last month. So the next meeting for BGYA is tomorrow, and I would suggest that everything's going fine. They got a full-time caseworker because that's a really positive thing. They've got some summer programs going on, and the August meeting is at Sherman Park. That's the one in right downtown, like by the municipal buildings. And it's open to whichever board members would like to go. They invite the school administrators and some other business people. So if anybody is interested in going on August 13th at 11 at Crossman Park, I will let Bob know tomorrow, MacArthur, if, you know, whatever, just RSVP. Even the day of, you can still RSVP. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Okay, Jim, planning commission?
Yeah, I'm gonna paraphrase, so to speak, from people telling me I missed the meeting. At that meeting, the planning commission voted to push up to the board the acceptance of Wade Trim as the planner. And then the other component was apparently a very, very similar to discussion that we had from the consultant from Ann Arbor regarding the best facility. And the best.
She's actually the MSU representative hired by the Eagle Grant to write the ordinance. It was the same person doing the
Yeah.
presentation. Yep.
So what I heard was it was almost an identical, or as you say, the same presentation.
It was.
Those are the only points that I'm aware of.
Okay, that's it. Next is the ZBA, and Gina's not here, I don't think, was there anything, there was one variance granted, I think, right, we said earlier. so-
But that was,
think that was
before,
Before, so I don't think there's anything since.
Yeah.
Supervisor, I'll tell you that I do have a call with Vesper tomorrow. Before I left for my week of vacation, I had called Jessica, the contact there, and told her that I needed a letter from the property owner of the 62 acres indicating that they intended and approved of what Vesper was doing, because Vesper does not own the property yet, and I couldn't do anything until that happened. Danielle sent her another memo from me while I was up at the lake, I called her, and told her the same thing, and a miracle happened today. Jessica called me and said, oh yeah, we got it all set. I haven't got the signed copy back yet, but he's agreed, and I'll send you the email. And literally while I was talking to her, it came into my email, so I do believe we'll have that by tomorrow. I have a call tomorrow with Jessica and EJ, the other individual comes out to talk about the issues that we wanted to discuss for extra requirements. It would be over and above what the state has. And again, as I said, discussions to this point have been positive, but until it's agreed to, there's nothing in writing. So we're gonna try and see if we can get that moved along on that. If you haven't seen the new building at the tech park for the fire department and the state police, that's well underway now. It actually looks like something. All the flooring and conduits in, all the block work is done, all the steel framing is up, and they were sheeting walls by the bay in the roof area over that today when I went by at the end of the day. So that's moving along pretty good today. I have a call with my contact at the contracts department there for Michigan for Tony Sump. He promises he'll call me tomorrow. We'll see, but sometimes calling Lansing, regardless of the department you're looking for, is like yelling into the cable winds. You have to be very persistent and mark your calendar a lot of times. But I think it's moving along. I guess I think I should take a comment here. There's a couple of things that when we hear comments that I think are inaccurate, and a couple of the people in the office monitor some of the stuff that we hear and see. I just need to make sure everybody understands the deal not to go to Knoxville years ago was done 2 years before the last election. That discussion was done and voted on by the board based on Chief Mason's plan to us at that time. I just think it's important that people understand some of the issues on this, because I know on some of this discussion over Vesper's battery system, it doesn't seem to matter how often you tell people what the state law is. Some people just think you have the option to be able to say, we're not gonna do it, and we don't, okay? We have to do it, so we'll continue to keep you up to date on videos of what we know when it's said and how it gets done, and bring it up to date to you. So I just, that's about it for right now. Next would be clerk, if you have anything else you wanted to report.
All sorts of things. Ballots have gone out, so absent voter ballots should be hitting mailboxes anytime. Our early voting begins the 27th. That'll be downstairs. We have our public accuracy test next Wednesday, the 17th at 2 p.m., excuse me, for anybody who wants to come watch us put ballots into the machine and test the machines. You may have noticed our new mailboxes. I made reference to that new drop box in the back, so we're very excited about that. Now these people have not been notified yet, but the winners of these sticker contests, so if any of you recall, we did do an I Voted sticker contest earlier in the year, and the winners were selected. So when you come to vote in August and November, you will have stickers from children from the local schools, Goodrich, Brandon, and Holly.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so if you're in Holly schools, you're gonna have Holly stickers. If you're in Brandon, you'll have, if you're over in precinct 3, you'll have just Brandon. If you're downstairs, you'll have Goodrich and Brandon. But the winners are here, no names are attached. Again, I have not notified them yet, but if you wanna take a look at it. One of them I have a little sticker on, we're trying to get a little bit better image of it, but, that was
That's a
really.
great idea.
Yeah,
Kids
it
really
was,
enjoy it.
I agree.
It was so good the state of Michigan stole it.
I know, I'm not sure if y'all
Oh my God,
saw
no,
that.
it's a dig.
Yeah. I was like,
So,
what?
yes, like-
That was Janelle's idea and Laura's.
Anyway, so these are here if you wanna look at them, it's kinda fun. Other than that, so that's pretty much all my election related stuff. Next Wednesday at 7 p.m., so again, this is on the 17th, there will be in this room a, meet the candidate, or a candidate's question and answer. Now, the township is not putting this on. Faye Vindig from the senior center has done this, I guess, for years over in Brandon, so they are setting this up here, but it will be, we are hosting it here in this building, so that's next, Wednesday. And then just a couple more things, just 2 more things. One, we're still working on the pension audit through OPEB. They're working on that still. Bob, that was what you had emailed me today, that we just have to send that online. Which means we're also waiting for the audit through Palka because he's waiting for the OPEB stuff.
Oh, is that why he's been postponing this?
Well, I think Gloria was out, she was on vacation for a bit, but yeah, they are waiting they have MERS, but they're waiting on OPEB.
Okay,
If you wanna look at something you might wanna do when you retire from treasurer, you should look into doing OPEB analysis,
No,
because they
thank
get a lot of money for it, and I have to believe it's a very simple
Yeah.
computer program. You punch about 6 numbers into it, and it spits the answer out, because it's not rocket science.
Well.
They're just the only
you
ones
never know.
certified for doing
My
it.
next life, maybe I'll do that. The very last thing here was just, I thought this was kind of cool. Obviously, we're in a very rural community, a lot of gun owners here. Oakland County is giving away free gun safety locks.
Good
So,
idea.
I have the flyer here, but I did print it off. You can pick them up at the Pontiac or Southfield location, so.
Well, they can't pick it up at a sheriff's office anywhere out here?
I don't know what this is, I'm not sure who this is. It's through the health division, so
Oh,
I don't know.
okay,
Yeah, it
okay.
sounds like that's where they're picking
That's
up.
probably why you have to go to Pontiac.
So 2 requirements, is there a gun in your home and are there children present in your home? So you have to have both of those for your free lock, but, anyway, I thought that was some pretty good information. I am all done.
Is there a phone number that might go with that for questions?
Yeah, absolutely,
I'll take a
maybe,
picture of it. That's
maybe
fine.
there is.
You know what, ask Benny if he can put that on.
I know, I can't remember if I gave it to him to put on there or not. This is just the nurse on call phone number, so I can look and make sure that when we get it posted, if it's not already, that we post a phone number with it. But either the North Oakland Health Center or the South Oakland Health Center is where you'd be going, so either Pontiac or Southfield.
Okay, thank you.
No, it's pretty simple right now. Taxes were billed out. Residents received their summer tax bill. Mine came in my mailbox on July 1st.
Mine came in while I was gone,
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, yes, of course. Remember, we just take the money in and we send it out, right? Very little stays right here, but, payments are coming in. Board of Review is next Tuesday, the 16th, 10 a.m. right here in this room. It's for poverty exemptions, clerical errors, and the like. And then the assessors will be out in the community doing some field work. They should be wearing some sort of Oakland County identification stuff, but they did say that they're going to be stopping at various, homes in the community that have had some work done to them or whatever. Those people should have probably received letters. We actually got a letter, I don't know, like, the house in front of the fire department. Mine
Didn't
might
get
be
all at
going
once.
there, I don't know why, it's not even on the tax roll.
Yeah, they were asking if they could get it, and I'm like, what, are you kidding me?
I'm like, it was a letter from Oakland County Equalization that just came and they said, you know, with the address, so
And it's tax exempt now, cause you
Right.
took care of
It's
getting it
tax
knocked out when
exempt,
the
so-
tenant moved out.
I just, you know, they can just go for it, whatever. I don't know why they would even bother, but at any rate, they are.
It's an
gonna
easy
be-
one to do, though.
Yeah, they're gonna be out in the field work next week doing that, so,
They're gonna give you an answer like, well, if it was taxed, here's what would
Right.
happen, right?
yeah.
You can put
Do
it
they
wherever you
notify
want.
you ahead of time, or they just show up?
They send a letter to the homeowner that says we will be in the area within this time frame, like, but it's not like a certain day, it's a certain 2-week period. So what they do is, if you're home and if they need to go inside, then, you know, they would probably contact you. But if they just are checking something,
Like
like
square
maybe you
footage.
did
or-
yeah,
Okay.
something. And if they can't get in and they need to, they make an estimate. And they
You
estimate.
can refuse them entrance.
Yeah, you can tell them, no, you can't come in, but, like,
They will assume the worst.
yes, they will
They
assume
will.
And that is what the,
that you've got, you know, gold fixtures and, you know, marble.
Tile
toilets.
everywhere.
but the irony of all this is, they sent the letter to us, and the house is tax exempt, cause it's on the fire department's property, and there's no
Right.
tenants in it anymore, so we took it off the tax rolls.
Right,
Why would you wanna waste the time to send somebody to do an assessment of a home that you collect $0 on?
yeah, and I don't know if you guys pulled any permits or anything on it that would make it go on
Haven't
their
done anything
flag
yet,
on
have we?
it? So I don't know why. I'm assuming, you know, Mylan, he's not gonna waste his time if there's nothing to do. He's got other work to do out here.
That's
It'll
one
take
where
one
you
quick
drive
look.
by and you go, check, done.
They also use satellite images and everything else. They look to see if there's any changes, so all of a sudden you have a pole barn that you didn't have last year. We've had them come on
Yeah.
board, we're like, that's been up there for 30 years, like,
They
one
caught
year
it
last
last
year. It's amazing how those just pop up.
But in this case here, it wouldn't matter, even if we did something to the house, it doesn't matter, it's
Not
not
till we put it back
taxed.
in the roll.
Yeah, unless we
Right.
lease it to somebody.
Right. So, that's all I have from the treasurer's office.
Okay, thank you. Well, at this point in time, we move to public comment, are there any questions? If not, oh, I'm sorry, Dave.
Time is to meet the candidates.
Oh, I'm sorry, 7.
Okay. Any other
And that's like
questions?
a question and answer, so the audience can ask questions, it goes through Faye as the moderator, and then she answers them, I haven't watched it from Brandon.
I haven't watched it, but from what I've been told, the audience can submit questions on index cards. They go to Faye, Faye looks through them, Faye decides, you know, what to ask, and then she submits the question to the candidates, and they each get a chance to respond.
If you think you need bigger space, station one.
Okay.
Oh. Okay. Any other questions?
Bob, when it's time, I've got 3 things in business that you'd like to talk
Sure.
about. Is this the?
Yeah, you can do it now.
All right, so the first item I have is, in light of the recent meeting that we had about the BEST project and the community feeling they couldn't get information quick enough, is it appropriate, and I don't know the better word, to ask the community if they were to give us an email address, proof that they were a property owner, that could be emailed certain things, and define what those are, whether it's emergency, tornadoes coming, I'm pulling somewhat out of thin air right now. There's a special meeting, there's something that's gonna impact the community. I don't know if another community has done that, or municipality.
They have a system through the county, if you have certain subjects, for example, if you wanted to know about storm warning, there's one of those categories at the county, you could say, I wanna know when you do announcements on this or projects on that, and the county will send you out notices of it. Are you asking if we have one specifically for us?
Not sure that's really what I'm asking when I use the word appropriate, if it's legal and appropriate for the community, that one way to dispel that I think would be very convenient from sending agendas out to informing, hey, we've got a threat to the community that we need to talk about, and there's gonna be a meeting. If someone has approved that in advance, what a great way to tell people, we have told you. Came in on a Tuesday, Wednesday we ferreted it out, thought it was important, here's your email. That way no one can really point a finger and say, we didn't do it. I like the idea.
I don't know, if there's a way to- I mean, the last thing I can think of is the battery system, and I started telling the newspaper and running the video as soon as I found out
I know.
and told the planning commission. I don't know what more we could have done, and it even got expanded to, I know, residents from Springfield and Brandon in there, because Springfield, I told the supervisor about it, so I think we've done that. It just seems like some people are opposed to it and don't want to understand the reality of what it is, but the board here has to decide what can we do under the law, whether we agree with it or not, unfortunately. So I don't know how we do it on the
No,
other
I hear
stuff.
what you're saying.
All I'm trying to say is to dispel any displeasure that people would like to have known instantaneously,
Uh-huh,
rather than the 24 or 48 hours.
uh-huh.
I'm not.
So
putting
what would we
it
make a list of like topics and ask them to supply an email address of the topics you wanna know about or something?
I think my seat of the pants vision would be, hey, you know what? If you would like to be on an email list
Uh-huh.
of township matters,
Like a listserv, creating a listserv of some
yeah,
sort.
that, hey, here's what you can expect. Inclement weather. Again, people, please chime in on this. A threat to the community that we need to know about. Everything from active
Be like a
shooter.
child,
A
or
child,
something.
but a way to at least tell people in the community, we did the best we could, you know? We pushed the button, you're not on the list, I can't help you. If it took you 48 hours, because that's typical channel.
Mhm.
It's a good thing to do for the community. I'm not necessarily responding to people that are needlessly complaining, but in the beginning, the idea came up, you know what, if this works, it's good for everybody.
How would you suggest we get a list of what the likely, I mean, the county has one for things they do. What would you think we should
I would
create as
say-
a list for what projects
I
we
would
would
say
put on a
we
list?
start, if we accept this and plan it first, that we reach out to the community, we're intending to do this after we find out it's legitimately legal to do it.
Well, I think it's legitimate.
And if you wanna
do
be a
it.
part of this, you have to provide the following. Some documentation that you're accepting what goes with this. Two, here's minimally what you are likely to get on this. You can opt out when you want, but it's a way to provide very quick communication.
So you're saying, in effect, like what we do with our Groveland TWP Facebook page, but a lot of people are not on Facebook.
Yeah.
I hate social media, so the less time I spend on social media, the happier I am. I think there's a correlation. But at any rate, there are a lot of people out there who, when I talk to them, they're like, I won't go on Facebook. So they're not gonna go and join the Groveland TWP Facebook page,
But they might do an email list.
but they might do an email list. So we have Gov Delivery, right? There is a system already in place. And I took some time a week or two ago to, like, what it does is it sends you an alert and it says, new agenda was posted, new minutes are posted. It's there. And so people can sign up and get an email or a text alert. And it goes, I was talking to Patty Back about this the other day, and, before, because Janelle was on vacation, when I was actually starting to look at this more, you know, to go dig a little deeper, because I know it exists, and so I called the number, it's called Gov Delivery, and it's from a company called Granicus. We already do this, I don't know how we do it, it was on the treasurer's computer when I inherited it in 2020, and so I keep getting these alerts anytime someone posts something for, and is there anybody else
Vinny-
here that gets those?
Vinny has that link to
You
the
get
website,
them?
doesn't he?
Yeah, somewhere it's linked, and if somehow that link needs to be unburied, you know, like that's what I was trying to figure out. How do I get my own personal email to connect to this Gov Delivery thing? And then I looked at it, and so I'm on the phone with the rep, And they're like, well, here's how you can find out who's already subscribed to it. So I looked and I'm like, holy cow, we've got like 1,600 people already subscribed to this thing. So how many of these people still live in the township? I don't know, but I scrolled through and I'm like, oh, I know a lot of those names. So allegedly, there's a lot of people who are already on this. And so I gotta believe that there is a way to get this information out there. I just hadn't looked deeply into it. And so my goal is to come up with a instruction sheet. You wanna receive these emails from Groveland Township? And then when I actually did it, it linked me to, you can get alerts from the state of Michigan
Oh, yeah.
and from Oakland County and so on. And I'm like, nah, I don't want any of those. I just wanna figure out how to alert people so that anytime we post, it's what the minutes or the agendas are. That's what I get alerted to. There's a new agenda, there's new minutes, you know, there's new something for the planning commission, there's new something for the BCA, there's new something for a board meeting, there's a new special board meeting, or whatever. So there is a system for that. But, you know, now I understand people want instantaneous, right? And we're in a time when Instagram and other things are, you know, like, I don't know what the community wants, but there has to be some way of getting something out faster, and I think an email list is a quick first step. And
Well,
then
there are even texts, I mean, you can do a texting program.
a texting thing.
So maybe we just need to look into information delivery systems and what are
Yep.
some options out there.
Maybe there's a way to tag onto that system that we're already using at the county then.
Well, that's why I
That'd be a
was,
great thing if we could
I
just
told
add it
Janelle
in.
about it,
Yeah.
and she and I just haven't had a chance to sit and go through it together,
Okay.
because our schedules here have been,
Well, if you can find that out, then we can do a video to talk about it, post it on the website, put it on the cable channel, and
Put
put
it
the
on the
word
side,
out.
put it in
Even
here.
pay the citizen to put it in the paper and make sure everybody knows there's an option available to them once we
Well,
figure out. the
yeah,
details.
and
So-
we may, I was even thinking about maybe using some PEG funds and sending something out to the whole community.
Sure.
I wanna get through, you know, like the next month first.
Okay, no, I understand, but I think that's a good
Because
idea. It'd be
it's
great.
gonna take a little while to do some research into these particular things, but we live in a technology-driven world right now. There's gotta be a way to get, you know, I mean, even Remind, or, you know, like, the whole idea of, I mean, there are
interesting thing
apps
is
out there.
Emails come in, and I used to get twice as many as I get now, cause sometimes you look at something and then they put you on a list and you start getting them.
Yeah.
So I pruned a bunch of them out
Sure.
of my emails, so there wouldn't be as much, but still, in 1 week, I had, I think about 300 emails in my
Yeah.
inbox when I got in this morning. And it took me the whole morning to ferret out, these are all junk, I don't
Right.
need any of them, and here's
Right.
the 10 or 12 that are actually worth it, I have to follow up on.
Yeah, well, I like your idea, and I think it's great, and I think we definitely should be doing something like that. So, Janelle, you and I could look into some texting apps or an email app or something.
Yeah.
And
There's some
then,
different options.
Great idea.
you know, we can try to bring something back to the next board meeting, because let's just doing some research to try to find some different options.
The last bit of comment I have on this particular topic is, every once in a while, when I finally get a chance to slow myself down and look into the future of the township, we are going to need to report into the community members, likely with position papers or statistics and things like that. What a great way to say, hey, listen, you wanna be informed about this instead of social media, here it is.
Yeah,
So, okay, are we good with that one?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Second thing, which is something that we gotta get a hold of, and it's, we gotta get a hold of. I need to tell you a conversation that I had with, Greg Glover. So last week, Greg, do we all know who Greg is?
Yeah.
Everybody? Greg Glover, I believe, is a lieutenant, somebody help me, cause I don't know Chris.
He's a
At
lieutenant.
Oakland County Sheriff's Office. I consider him a friend, confidant of sorts. I met him here first. Good human. He calls me last week, I cannot tell you what day, you folks, pulling this out of my derriere, perhaps Tuesday. He lets me know that, he has orchestrated, Kevin, you may have to help me with this, okay?
Sure.
He's orchestrated, a discussion with Kevin, Brandon Township Supervisor himself and the sheriff, about meeting Kevin and the sheriff endorsing Kevin. And in that discussion, he calls me within short order, apparently when they come out, to talk to me about the necessity for us to consider Oakland County Sheriff's offices as providing services here for Groveland. And his concerns were, and bear with me, because I've got some notes here, but I want to go from memory. His concerns were that there was an inordinate amount of recommendations coming from the state police. Word recommendation may not be right, everyone. That they can't respond to requests of the
Referrals.
the owners. And the state police can't respond quick enough, so they're having some dispatch, I assume, push it over to the Oakland County Sheriff, and it is taking their time. Apparently, it is a sore spot with the Brandon Township Supervisor. Greg even intimated that he wanted to send us a bill, which, beyond my amusing sense of humor, the real truth is, I'm a member of the board, and other than meeting with Greg a few years back, I'm speaking in part for the board, but a lot for myself. I'd be fine to listen to whatever statistics and argument he has or business case for this. But it's an issue that I think could blow up. And that's in part what fueled this email that, you know what, I asked Greg, I'll get it in front of the board, give me a business case, tell me why it's needed. But we gotta get ahead of it for a variety of reasons, everyone, in my opinion, and then we'll talk about it. Number one, beyond the costs, okay, we've got to look into the future, and if we were to embrace a unionized environment, what does that do in terms of costs for this Kevin's people? With the fire department saying, well, you know what, we got a union group in here, now we'd like to be part of a union too. So costs go up. Above and beyond that is what people may not know in the community, and Bobby, you're gonna have to help me with this, is not everything can be in this formal type of a format. So we've got time and money invested in the state police. It's not outpost, detachment?
Detachment.
And, you know, politics the way they are, what if somebody gets wind that we are entertaining, my words now, entertaining the sheriff here, when we're not? What does that do to potentially undermine that investment in time, as well as the ability to stop any opportunity for us to talk to the state police about adding somebody else out here? So I'm worried about that. We need to talk about it. I would like to invite Greg in and say, give me the business case.
Let me just tell you a couple of
Yeah,
things that
go ahead.
happened, because in the spring, I was at a meeting with Bouchard, and he made a comment in passing, and my answer to him was the same as his other. Give me some data, I'll look at it. I never get it from him, okay? We did look at the Oakland County Sheriff at least 3 different times, and it was extensively covered in the township. We had a proposal from them for the cost. The problem is, it's so expensive. The state police usually provide police service where none exists, which is why the last time I looked, there's about 400 small townships, general law ones like us, that have them, okay? They don't provide police service where you hire the sheriff. So basically what we would be doing is trading paid for brown uniforms and eliminating blue uniforms that are covered by our state taxes right now. This has gone round and round, and it was very well covered in the public. The most severe case of it was when I was the president of the Supervisors Association for Michigan, and the sheriffs were trying to get the state police to cancel all road patrols so that they would pick up all the contracts, right? Groveland Township is the community that led the statewide battle on keeping them. We were the community that pushed that because over a weekend, we and a whole bunch of other townships flooded Lansing's MPSC or MSP facilities with emails saying, we don't want you to stop providing service. This has been looked at time and time again. Rose looked at it after us, came to the same decision. I'm sure Holly's looked at it, came to the same decision. And we've looked at it at least 3 different times. The difference now is that the cost of the sheriff's become even more expensive because this past year, the Oakland County Commissioners have decided to take over the cost structure for the sheriff. They put in a cost structure increase that Bouchard didn't even ask for. It was far in excess of what they gave the deputies. The county just thought we should be getting more money for this service. So when you talk to the other supervisors monthly at the supervisor's luncheon, they're all complaining about how much the rates went up because like our 911 cost, would it go up 25 to 40% for everybody this year? They had a huge increase in any new contracts that are going to renew. So the difference between now and the last time we looked at it is it'll be even more expensive than it was. You can have it, but you have to decide. And our crime statistics have always been very good. I don't think people are afraid to walk out in Groveland Township or feel they're going to get mugged or any of those things. In the 28 years that I've been supervisor, I don't think I've had 5 complaints reach my desk about the sheriff, about the state police, and most of them had no validity to them. I'm just telling you, it's not like it hasn't been covered. There were tons of people that had opportunity to speak to it. Me and the board that was here before all of you have heard all of it too because they were here when we went through it. Nobody has ever made a harm and cry for saying, we want to have a millage increase to cover the sheriff because that's the only way you get them. And if you talk to most of the other supervisors, they'll all tell you the first price they give you will be lower. You'll see after they're in, they start jacking it up. So, and I'm taking this information from supervisors that were Oakland County deputies before they retired. That's what happens.
Well, in any event, one second, okay, sorry, in any event, what I worry about is somebody throwing an adult temper tantrum at the Michigan State Police and say, screw you
Yeah,
guys.
playing with fire.
Yeah, so I urge both you guys to be careful in some of this. Kevin was first, I'm sorry.
You said the crime
It's Bob's
statistics,
meeting.
but I've never seen any crime statistics.
We've had them before. The last time they actually got us in a full-blown study that I saw, we were the 5th safest community. That was a long time ago. I haven't seen them in the last one, and because I think the last time they did a regular study on it, I think they didn't even bother to ask the Groveland statistics. I heard about it after it was done. But I can tell you that when we've in the past, years in the past, had a flurry of break-ins where they usually have some kids that are 18 to 20 years old breaking in and robbing stuff out of houses, there's about a half a dozen of them happen until they figure out who it is. I haven't had any complaints like that in years here. I'm telling you, if it was a problem, I would get it because people like to call up like they did today, last week when I wasn't here, and tell me, did you know there's a lot of gravel trucks on Groveland Road? Well, no, I wasn't here last week, but it is a road and they can't drive on it. But if it happens again, tell me, and it's already cleared itself up. People have an easy tendency to call me when they think something needs to be done. I'm just telling you that I think Jim's assessment is right. Play with fire and you're likely to get burned. We have had to work very, very hard to keep the state police here. And I can tell you it's the envy of most of the townships we're with. And as far as Brandon wanting to charge us for it, do I need to remind everybody that how many years were we providing 30 and plus runs a year to Brandon Township before they finally staffed up one of their fire stations enough to stop needing that? We were doing tons of mutual aid runs into other communities outside of us because those communities were perfectly happy letting us pick up the freight on medical runs that they didn't want to cover themselves. And it was only because we brought it to their attention. And I have told Bouchard, and I've told this sheriff, you got a list, give it to me. I've even talked to the sergeant for the detachment here, which by the way is going to move into the building when the new building's done, because he lives in Grand Blanc. He said, if you got a list of the incidents, give it to me and I'll be happy to look at them. So if this is such a crucial problem in Groveland Township, somebody should give us a list and say, can you look into it? Which I'd be happy to. The reason they do it is under mutual aid in the police department. It's similar to what happens in the fire department. If they have a call and one of them can't do it, they get to call the other agencies in the area. If there's a real problem with that, I should think Bouchard would be calling the colonel in Lansing and saying, I think you need to step up your staffing here, because here's a list of all the problems we've had. But I ask and I never get it. So I'm suspect when they say, here's the terrible things you have.
Well, I think this would be okay. I will call Greg tomorrow sometime during my business day and say, and bug him a little bit. I'm looking forward to seeing your statistics.
Didn't he give you a ballpark figure on what he thought it would take to
So a
provide them
couple
here?
of years ago, it was $1.2 million. When I talked with him, as I said, beginning of last week, he said between $1.5 million and $1.7 million. And I would lean on you, Teresa, to tell me what that might translate to dollars.
5 mils.
5 mils for $1.5 million is 5 mils. Because
Okay.
we have a taxable value of,
How about an
every
average?
mill generates approximately 300,000. So if he's estimating 1.5 million, that's
Yeah.
gonna be 5 mils.
And say I own an assessed home of 250,000.
So if your home is assessed at 250,000, it's taxed at 125,000, so, because assessed, alright, assuming
Because that you need to understand the
Yeah.
difference between assessed
assessed
and
and
equal.
taxed, so we're just basically talking about your taxable value. So if your taxable value is $100,000, you're gonna pay $500 a year. If your taxable value is $200,000, you're gonna pay $1,000 a year.
Do we have an, I should know this, do we have an average assessed?
Our average
taxable
is,
value?
includes all the vacant land as well, okay? So it's really not a fair average to say 112,000, but most new residents moving in here have taxable values that are at least $200,000. Nobody's moving in here and having a taxable value, of less than 150. You know, they can't buy a house out here for under 300,000. So, at this point, you know, that when I calculated, I figured the average typical home is about $150,000 in taxable value, so that would be $750 a year for 5 years.
Sure, go ahead, sorry.
So before we talk about raising taxes and how many mills, we really need to step back. And I think it's responsible of any township supervisor to get either monthly or quarterly stats from whatever law enforcement is servicing them. And so we need to go to MSP and just say, I need to know what's going on in my community. We can say we have low crime. We can say, you know, we're one of the safest communities, but until you look at the data, you don't know. And you have to ask very specifically for what stat you're looking for. You can't just say response time.
No, they give it to you by crime type. We've had them before.
And that's not good. You gotta get from 2 different sources. You gotta go to dispatch, because not every officer at MSP writes a report on everything they go on. A lot of police departments, depending on where they're from, will only write reports on what is required by micro. So you need 2 sources. You need to go to dispatch, and you need to ask them for an accounting of all runs by priority and response time from the time 911 rang till the time they arrived. Some people will calculate a response time from the time they got the call to the officer or the fire department, which is not a true response time. It's
So-
when you could have a call sitting in the pending queue for half an hour. That's gotta be part of the response time.
But don't we get our fire calls based on the time they make the call to the dispatch center? And the response
Yes,
system?
she's correct about both. Because there's a time there, what time they receive the call, and then there's a time that when they dispatch the call. And we can pick either one, obviously, when we do our reports, and that's something I look at. And then we'll flag if it was an extended length of time, you know, response time was, 12 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
But if I may, I don't know if she's done yet, you need that same information from Oakland County also.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get the Oakland County one to say, oh, we went on, it's an incident report. we went on 12 calls in the last 2 months. Okay, 12 calls, who cares? If it was 60 calls in the last 2 months, well, that's a significant number, difference. I know very rarely that we call for, you know, MSP that we get Oakland County. Usually it'd be, let's say on, an accident on Dixie Highway. Normally we don't call for them, they just show up, or they were driving through or whatever, but I can't recall this year even calling for Oakland County. I mean, we've done it because MSP's not available, but I don't think, have we done it this year at all?
I don't think we've called for it, the MSP just notifies them.
Yeah,
Send
maybe
out.
that happened, but I can't recall, and I go on a lot of calls, where Oakland County, I mean, maybe 2 this year so far. And that was, I think both of them were cardiac.
I said, I've asked before, give me the numbers, I'll look into
So
it.
Glover has tools at his fingertips that he can run those reports. If he doesn't know how, he can call down to his record staff, who run reports all the time. If they don't know how, which they do, in fact, I believe a lot of the contracted areas get emailed, the township supervisor gets emailed monthly what's going on in their community, without even asking,
From the sheriff.
from the sheriff.
Yeah, I'm sure they
So I'm
do.
saying Glover, if he doesn't know how to run those reports, just makes a phone call to records, and he can have those reports almost same day.
Well, I would certainly ask, because there's.
So the 2 sources that we need from MSP is the dispatch, you have to include priority on there, because if it's not a priority call, it can sit in the pending queue for a half hour, who cares if someone smashed their mailbox?
Like a trespasser, that's a very low
Right.
priority, so.
So, and the second source is the micro report rating system, and that's probably, if you're getting stats, you're probably getting it from there. But micro reporting for MSP is not gonna give you a true count, because it's only what they write a report on. It's not everything they ran on. A neighbor complained, a trespasser. So if you look at the CAD calls, how many calls was MSP dispatched in our community? I don't know, it could be 1,000. If you look at the report writing system, it could be 500. You want both to be able to really do an analysis. The reason I'm saying this is I'm gonna speculate that MSP does a pretty good job. And we probably don't need sheriff, maybe we do. But until you look at the data, you can't confidently say one way or the other.
But I understand what you're asking, but a lot of that stuff's all been looked at before. The answers, everybody's come back the
But
same.
now
It's
they-
not like we haven't
Yeah.
asked for reports, we've had them, nothing significant's ever come out of them. It's not like we don't know what they end up asking out of the fire department when it happens. I'm not discounting what you're saying, but I'm telling you, this has been beat to death at least 3 times here. And no one has ever said, my God, I think that's worth 4 or 5 bills.
Yeah, so let's quell the whole thing and get some new stats, share them, have someone analyze them.
If I may, the call listing will show whether, it should show whether it was dispatched to Oakland County also. But the call listing should show every call. And then the other system will show which ones they, you know, actually did a report on. But it's just like our system, I can see every call, we have to put, you know, enter data in for every single call. So they should have all that, but it also will identify if there is a problem or not, you know, like I said, if it was 12 calls in the last 2 months, that's not a big
Yeah,
deal.
I'll be the first to tell you, I lived here 6 or 7 years before I even knew who the police service was out here.
But
I just had no need to call.
I agree. And for some calls, let's face it, it's not a priority call, so just because they didn't show up at your house because, you
It's
know.
just stuff like a lawnmower was stolen, they don't run out that day to do that.
You
I
know,
remember-
in the 21st century, our township supervisor should be getting an email with the monthly stats. I mean, we have that technology,
I gotta
right?
do it every month.
Yeah. And especially with, it's crime.
Yeah.
Sure, it might be low, but until you see the stats, you don't know.
I remember a couple decades ago, someone was going through and opening cars and stealing stuff out of cars, that's the last
That's the
rash
last
I
time we had a
remember.
rash of them, yeah.
So would you say on like emergency basis when a police officer is required to be there? So for example, I know sometimes you guys have to wait for them to clear a scene.
Yeah.
Just from your experience, I mean, there are 3 of you here, 4, sorry. are you finding that oftentimes it's Oakland County and not MSP that's showing up?
Like I said, I don't.
So you're
I've
not
had
finding
two, you know, every month Stacy teases me because I have the most calls, but, I can't really recall, of course, my memory's going too, but maybe a couple, 3 times in the past, this year. I mean, I think the last time I remember was when Brad was in the accident, last time I saw Oakland County.
Okay,
And, you know, shoot, MSP is showing up on calls that I, you know, didn't request them. Usually they ask, we call for them if we want them. But lately they've been being dispatched to the calls, and I'll ask them, what do you hear? We were told you said you wanted us. I didn't call you, it was just a medical. So I don't need police officers, troopers, or deputies on medicals, unless it's a suicide, you know, or, you know, psychological or a car accident, that's what we need them on.
I think one misnomer with the state police, and it depends who you talk to. You can talk to 5 people and 2 of them will say, I called the state police and they were there in 5 minutes, and that's great. I can tell you from personal experience, last year they stole my one son's car. They never did show up for 9 hours. They finally sent a state trooper from Oak Park up because nobody was available. And then in April, my other son got in an accident on East Holly Road. Luckily, nobody was hurt. Did total his car. They never did send an officer. I ended up, it took me 3 weeks to get a police report out. So it just depends who you talk to. There's good and bad. And I'm not out to ramrod the state police. I have no disrespect for them. But it is definitely who you talk to and what incident happened.
Did we show up on the second accident?
No, because he was actually, we're in the corner, we're not for covers.
I didn't know it was right in your house. Did not show up?
Yeah. Like I said, nobody got hurt. It was.
Well, I mean, usually they show up for
Yeah,
car accidents.
exactly.
And deer strikes, you just come by
Yeah.
and they'll give you a sticker, you know, a ticket, or not a ticket, but a sheet saying that you got hit by a deer.
Yeah, I've got to visit them for that before.
All right, so on this topic, just to rehash, we're gonna try to get some statistics ASAP. Talk to Greg. Bob, I'll leave it on you to play with the state police. Once we get something, we can revisit this again in this forum. And, at least see what's accurate. I think that's the best way to put it. And I think everybody here, kind of fatherly telling you 2 guys, careful in your endorsements, because I do worry that somebody's gonna get to the state police with bullshit, and we're gonna end up P&O people, and it's gonna undermine what's been going on here for a while.
If I may say that, I would put it in his court and say, it's up to you to show us the stats. Everybody else
Yeah,
says
yeah.
it's not that bad, and show us how many calls you do in Groveland Township. That you're not supposed to be doing, that the MSP, you know, gives to you.
Yeah, well, Greg said he was gonna work on it, now I'm gonna push him, that we wanna see it as a community now.
I guess if he doesn't answer with that information. then
Well,
it's-
and the
It
other
says
thing-
Sergeant for the detachment said, give me the numbers, I'll look at them.
Yeah, and
Kill him with data.
Chris, please.
Listening to what Leanne said, and knowing what I know from being in the department, the stats of the sheriff's department are readily available. They're easy to get. The state police, I don't know how they work. And when she talks about, calls for services, when you get sent to something, when you arrive, if you read a report, it's a different call for service than, we used to call them D cards. You go someplace, you talk to somebody, there's no report required, you move on. But the call is still logged when you got it, when you arrived, when you cleared. But I don't know how the state police does it. I know how we used to do it. If they do something similar, it should be an easy thing to produce for the supervisor. And I think that the discussion about the 2, have it. Like you said, if there's data, have it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody, I'm speaking for myself, but knowing the board, I don't think anybody's gonna waffle away. If we gotta spend the money for safety, we're gonna do it. But I haven't seen anything in the years I've been here. In fact, now that Bob tells me that they've rattled the saber before and not come through. I don't know what's motivating this from Greg, but
See, people are telling me that that's happened, but they can't tell me when, and they can't tell me, can somebody show us that report from 10 years ago and say, or has it been 10 years ago, has it been 4 years? The data that that Leanne's talking about is, you can probably get it tomorrow. And I don't think it wouldn't be cost prohibitive, just to find out what the numbers are.
No, they never denied me it before. They gave it to me for a while, just, there's nothing we ever did with it, because it just wasn't very much of it.
Does the state police do the same thing?
They can,
Ask them.
yeah. But they've given them to me in the past. I just thought, what do you want me to do with it now? There's no blaring issues. Like I said, when there's a problem like the break-ins from people in the cars, I hear about it because you get a series of them. I've had nothing like that in ages.
I mean, I think that'd be good for this board, that you can say,
Yeah.
MSP ran on, 165 calls
Yeah.
in the township last month. Even if
Yeah,
you
I
just,
can get it.
if you're the one that gives it out, that should be, and, like my breakdown here where it says, so many fires, so many medicals, so many trees down, yada, yada, yada.
Mhm.
So, I think that should be addressed at the board.
Okay.
all right, I got one more thing. Sorry, everybody. So this is kind of heartfelt on my part. I need to tell a quick story, and then I gotta get a question answered. So, a long time ago, I used to sit on the tax board of review with Kevin and another gentleman, Rod Krupka. And I'm not ashamed to tell you that the majority, I'm sorry, I'm smiling about one incident, it's inappropriate, but I'm not ashamed to tell you that on one occasion, after looking at the petitioners, that at the time were primarily people that were infirmed or people that retired poorly, that we had to grant them as humbly as they could be and vice versa, tax abatement. And I got sick once worrying about holy mackerel. I never want to be in that position. So I'm telling you this story in this thread of development that I take what we do here on any board seriously. And if you don't think as a result of that with Kevin and Rod, that the feeling you did good, it's huge. Similarly, things happen here, everything from fire department to the best thing, and I'm sure there'll be other things showing up. So I've gotta ask a question, and I gotta ask it to you, Kevin. I'm sorry for this in part. I made a motion in February 5th of 2020 that we go forward with the fire department here, funded this completely. Yet, unless I interpret this correctly, and I hope you can tell me wrong, when I look at this, you take credit for putting pressure on our board. What pressure could you possibly put on after the fact?
I don't think it was implied to put pressure on the board. I think my running was implied to put pressure on the board.
Though it was tough to digest, plans to compromise the independence of Groveland Fire were scrapped under the pressure of the campaign, so that made it worthwhile. That kind of clearly suggests you had some influence, but it's way after the fact. And I take exception to that. I was part of that. You weren't around for the heart-wrenching horse shit that we had to go through. That's not fair. It's unfair to the board. And I'm bringing it up in this forum. I want to know, how do you do that?
How do I do that?
How do you say this? What am I missing?
I'm not saying you're missing anything, Jim, but with all the stuff that went on with the fire department last time, I was very outspoken about how I felt about the fire department.
So this is a lie.
No, it is not a
How
lie.
is it not? Explain. I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just having a difference of opinion that I think is really important.
I think that board acted completely different after I started running towards a lot of things and the fire department. I'll be completely honest with you.
Kevin, the issue was solved months before you ran for office. At least 60 days, it looks like, from the paperwork I pulled.
Jim, I would have to go back and look, to be
Well,
honest
the
with you.
paperwork's here, right here. I'm just letting you know, I don't appreciate it. I consider you a friend. I do not appreciate this. I consider it BS. I'm done.
Jim, I
I'm done.
appreciate your opinion.
I'm done. I needed to make that clear. Sorry. So I'm done.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? before we adjourn for the fire board meeting? If not, a motion is in order to adjourn and reconvene for the fire board meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second
Yeah.
that.
Any questions or comments from the board? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Kevin, we'll reconvene and the meeting is yours.
Okay, thank you. If you look at the stats, month of June, we had 108 calls. We had 87 for last year's, the same time frame, and 65 the year before, so quite a bit, significant increase. So with that number, we're pretty much on track for about 1,000 calls this year. So that brought our total up to 532 calls as of June 30th. We had ladder testing today, and the ladder failed, pretty much the same problem we had last year. But he
Out of
did,
curiosity, does it look like the same seal or a
well,
different seal?
Keith found it, we didn't see the leak, but he found the leak when he was done, and it looks like the same seal, so Captain Williams is gonna get with Apollo and say,
Hey, did
I
it fix it?
think it's leaking, so we're gonna coordinate with them, we still think it should be under warranty. so.
Okay.
Kevin, does that mean you can't use the ladder at all, right?
It's a deal where basically with the ladder straight up, it came back 5 inches, I think he said this year, in an hour. So if you're up there working, if you move far enough away, you just bump it up. But this, I mean, I would personally use it. But if someone, let's say Justin took it out and said, I don't feel safe using it, okay, don't use it. But technically, it's supposed to be certified. So we'll work on that tomorrow, I believe. We received a Kawasaki Mule, which is an off-road vehicle from the DNR. And I don't know how long it sat there, but we did get it running, put a new battery in it. They were running around, seems to be working pretty nice. There's one with a dump bed in the back and 4 seats. So
But you got it working again.
there you go, we're running. And we're working on getting the SCBA compressor running. We put a new battery in that, it runs. And we call, did he ever show up?
No.
What is it?
I think John has to put it on the top, so.
Okay. So we have to get that certified before we do that, definitely, the air has to be certified. Stacy applied for another DNR 5-year grant, 5,000 matching. So I don't know when we'll find out about that. We sent a crew down to the 4-H fair. That's standard, we do that every year. And my last thing I didn't have on the list was, talk with Janelle, and I think we need to, start working on requirements for the fire chief's position. What we're gonna look for, whether we open it up or not, but just so we can have some, specifics that we're looking
Direction
for.
where you go. That's
Yeah.
fair.
So I'll start genning it up and, I'll forward it up to the board.
Now, isn't the new rule you told me a couple of months ago that any fire chief that's made now, if you're already there, I guess you're grandfathered, but if you're making a new fire chief, they're supposed to have like 7 different credentials, I think, and one of them is certified trainer or something.
They're a fire instructor, and just for instance, John does not have that, but they also say, I think you got 2 years to get it, but.
Oh, okay, they give you a leeway to get,
Yeah.
okay. So it would be a requirement you want, but if you don't have it, an applicant could make a commitment that they would get that within 2 years.
Yeah, I would probably put on there that meet all the state, fire chief, training requirements, and basically say, I'll look up what the state says, and if it says a 1.5 years, 2 years, whatever it says, I'll
Make
throw
them
that in
understand,
there.
yeah, okay, I was just curious, okay.
And if there's no questions,
Kevin, when are you planning to retire?
January.
Like beginning or end?
I don't know yet.
From the lady who has to do some paperwork.
I told Laura to remind me in November so I can put in retirement.
I do think you need to turn it in, I think it's, isn't
3
it
months.
3 months ahead of time?
November. They've done the math
Got
right.
What'd you say?
I'm gonna talk to you Wednesday, that's
Oh,
what I
that's
wrote
what
on my
I was
calendar,
okay.
just to be safe.
Did you need the ORV and compressor thingy on the insurance?
Probably. I mean, the compressor said it was 14,000. I mean, we didn't pay anything for it, so I guess we could leave it at that. And the mule, I don't know how much is a mule anymore. I mean, especially
Some
a
of
used
them
one.
are expensive.
Yeah, but this is, a used one, so I mean,
I looked up these prices.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
5 to 8, somewhere around there. None of them are, well, I guess the SCBA will be plated, but.
Okay, nothing else? Okay, if there's any other questions from the audience? If not, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Any other questions or comments from the board? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.